what were the factors that actually drove you guys to actually need to kind of change the whole back office system of Cheshire Police?
Yeah, effectively the main catalyst for it being practical was money, let's face it. This all happened about 4 or 5 years ago. The fiscal landscape was changing, public sector budget cuts, very significant budget cuts for all of us. And what was very clear in Cheshire was that we couldn't continue doing what we wanted to do. Mike said earlier on, about 85% of our budget is staff. And actually, being police, we can't reduce police officer numbers, which gave us a very small proportion of our budget. We needed to make some very significant savings in. So the catalyst then was that. The pleasing element of this, though, was that this wasn't just about cutting the bottom line. This was about, we got in there early enough to think about what is it we actually want to do, how do we want to work, what really matters to us in terms of HR, finance, procurement, and ultimately duty management as well.
Obviously, with such a kind of specialised workforce, you work with a bigger framework. It's called the T-Police framework. Can you just talk us through that?
Absolutely. T-Police is like a branding, if you like, of the solution that we came up with. It's important here I mention as well the Northamptonshire Constabulary and Capgemini, as well as Crown Computing, as we're all partners in this particular approach of how we worked. What T-Police is, effectively, is it's a fully integrated business suite, and what I've chucked up on here is quite a high level sort of schematic, which I might just run through it in a minute. But it's getting software to work for you, not against you, and getting the principle of a master record system working properly in an organisation like the police. That's the sort of software side of it. The other side of it, though, was actually understand your business. So what processes do you have, and how do we standardise them? How do we get one set of rules that meet the needs of the organisation? How do you make it as easy as possible for people to work within your organisation? And these are all the sort of questions that we had. So if I run through this very briefly, and we'll talk through. I'm going to stand up and walk around now, just to annoy the presenter more than anything else. What we've got here then is, this is Oracle HR, which is the system that we chose. Oracle HR was deemed to be our master record system, so this is our one version of the truth. When somebody gets created in there, where you've got arrows is where we've got interfaces. HR, incidentally, isn't just HR, it's finance, procurement, it's an ERP, an enterprise resource planning solution. But when we create an employee there, it then comes across to the duty management system, which for us is Crown DMS. And I agree, I think that is the best duty management system available on the market, without real doubt about that. The key for me, though, is that it's in two parts. It's a planning tool. It's a tool used to make sure that we get all the right people in the right place with the right skills at the right time. Also, it's a time and attendance system. So the top box is around planning. So when we get our employees, we fit them into our plan. We understand what we need, where we need them, when we need them, and we match them up to make sure it works. And that automatically feeds into our command and control system, which is what we actually use to deploy people to incidents and help the people of Cheshire, etc. So that's sort of the top part of it. Well, what you've also then got is, now you know what people should be doing, you can then get people to book on and book off, and for the system to work out their time and attendance for you automatically. And that drives automatic payments of overtime, automatic management of absence, automatic annual leave, entitlements, toil, all of that sort of stuff done automatically through the system by having some standardised rules and processes. And then finally, feeding that back comes your management information. How much did we spend policing that event? How much did we spend on a Tuesday? Where has it gone wrong, and where are we spending our overtime? Okay. So you've got integrated technology with standardised processes that is the T-Police model. The final bit of it, though, was that it's an opportunity for us to sort out those things which were deemed really too hard to sort out, like working patterns, terms and conditions. We do it our way here, it's not the same as everywhere else. What is your rules on overtime? Do we actually have it? Do we know it? Has the organisation made that decision? So a lot of it was around cleansing our own data, putting things in a format and a process that we wanted it to work, and to get the technology to work for us.
Did the workforce kind of notice it straight away? Was it a success in the sense they were going, oh, I'm happy with this?
I think it's fair to say they noticed it. What we've got is, to set the sort of context, with the public sector, before we moved to this model, it was a bit hit-miss how we planned our resources. The big change for us was that we hit some of our absolute, for me, key principles. Everybody in the whole Cheshire Constabulary, from chief to cleaner, is in DMS. everybody books on and books off. This is sort of language in the public sector which is unheard of in most organisations. Everybody books on and off. That means that at any point in time, we know exactly what we've got, what we're doing, what we expect them to do. So we can now meet those unbelievably changing needs. It isn't something that other people joining T-Police would need to do because we've standardised those processes. We've worked with Crown very effectively to produce a product that's now fit for purpose and doing what we in the police need it to be doing every single day. So
the word implementation then is something that might grind your teeth at, because that would be where the difficulties lay.
The first thing you've got to do with moving to something like this is to decide what really matters to you. And you need to make sure that your hierarchy, the absolute power decision makers, are behind you. So to illustrate what I'm sort of talking about there, is we get this sort of schematic, and I go to my chief constable and my ACPO team and say, brilliant, this is how it's going to work. I need to present them with some answers and questions. So, boss, who's in? Who's on DMS? Who are we going to plan every day? Is it just the uniformed staff like we've always done, or is it everybody? And they made the decision that it would be everybody. Okay, brilliant. Who's going to book on and off then on this system and live? And when I say book on, I mean when they come to work, book on, and when they go home, book off. And again, for the public sector, this was Big Brother type stuff. And again, the decision was everybody. So it's about getting those key decisions, because the feedback there was, even you then, boss, you're going to book on? Yes. Right, brilliant. And if you can get those clear messages of what's important to you, then everything else will flow. So because everybody's in, because everybody books on and off, I can now run the whole payroll system from it. I can run the whole annual leave and entitlement system from it. I know exactly who's on duty and when they're on duty. I know what skills they've got. All of that feeds into our command and control system, and life just becomes so much easier. It's almost like, well, why would you not?
Yeah.
But it's getting those key things decided first that enable something like this, adventurous as it is, to be possible.
You're quite certain that you're going to see the results, obviously, from how we should be in the policing.
We've saved money. In really simple terms, we spend significantly less money now on overtime than what we did before.
Yep.
And because we can plan ahead and the system will plan into the future, we can have all our predictable demands in the future met at minimum cost, because police regulations is a bit like that. The less notice you give, the more it costs you. So we can plan into the future, and we're able to reduce costs and improve efficiency. And from the employees, they can see what they're doing much further into the future than we've ever been able to do.
Future plans for the system, how do you see it going?
Well, the system isn't perfect, and nor will it ever be. And one of the things I've been most pleased about over the last few years is Crown, as they talked about earlier on, they do want to make the system do what we want. I've put a lot of pressure on them to do that. Thank you, Mr. Hawkswood. But there will be continual development. I'm very excited about the My Analytics. I think reporting has been a weakness in the past, and that looks like that's going to give us exactly what we need. But ultimately, for me, this is about sharing experiences more than anything else. So the future that I'm after is as many forces onboarding as possible, because with them we'll not only reduce further costs, but actually it gives us the benefit of their experience, and we become more powerful as a collective. So the future is very bright. Future, more development, more focusing on what our objectives are, and ultimately a bigger family, which is what I'm after.